Since today's my birthday and Gochu Polar is finally out, I figured I'd bless y'all with a short yap session about one of my favorite 6 Rangers in the Reiwa era. So with that out of the way, like, comment, subscribe, and let's get started. Now according to legend, there were 5 heroes in the guardian spirit King-Ohger who banded together to defeat the Bugnarok to save humanity. But nobody told you there was a 6th hero, one who was erased from history for having sex with a spider lady. This particular no pants dance was apparently vile enough to get both of them banished from their lands, but the two fled to a place where they could be together and eventually had their half-blood prince. This human Bugnarok hybrid not only lived for 2 millennia, but also had his powers sealed. During half of that time, he was known as the Spider-Man. Not that one. Being the Terra equivalent of Bigfoot, popping up every few decades and even centuries, most likely spreading the news of the King-Ohger lore as the time changed. Eventually, this would set up a string of events that would eventually lead to the capture of the 3 greater guardian spirits with the help of Defnarok, which ultimately leads to the unsealing of his powers and the reveal of his identity, Jeremy Brassiere, the man who would eventually become the king of the in-between, though if you ask me, his last name sounds suspiciously Italian. After this, Jeremy would theatrically run around telling the current kings about how he more or less wrote the King-Ohger lore that they know, subtly hinting that he's responsible for most of the events that have occurred prior to his reveal, as well as what he's here to do. When Jeremy realizes that these kings, much like most Toku fans, don't have the media literacy to understand what he's subtly saying, he tells them what I told you about his backstory, before telling them that his real agenda is to be the representative of people who exist on the margin of society, being unseen by systems in power and being unable to properly live. The unsealing of his powers was just part of his plans to right the wrongs inflicted on these people, and to see that all join hands in harmony. Okay, I see you there, Jeremy Luther King. Now that this misconfusion is out of the way, Defnarok strolls up, still pissed that JB played him like a fool a day ago. Unlike our half-blooded webhead, Defnarok doesn't want to get along with humanity, and is ready to send anyone there to the upper room. Rather than jumping Defnarok, Jeremy calls ISO, proclaiming that the fate of the world itself is his story to dictate, as he is the king of the in-between. And in a moment told by others forevermore, JB royally puts that shit on.
Boy, he got that shit on though.
Jeremy surprises everyone by becoming, more or less, the 6th Osama, giving us one of the best suits in Sentai, and in my opinion, the current best 6 Ranger suit of the Reiwa era. Now, in suit, he proceeds to engage Defnarok in a way only a debut fight can display. Our new web crawler dodges the king's attacks with ease, countering all of his with attacks of his own. And as he keeps flipping and dodging, Defnarok discovers that the venom he got blasted with has a delay, proving that Jeremy's actions, much like his words, are more than meets the eye. Honestly, this fight is very one-sided, showing the team how capable Spider-Man can be, and hopefully he would never have to use that power on the Royal Sentai.
Later.
When he does use it against them, it's because they decided to use a very sentimental ooh-wop from his mother as a fucking fart joke, sending him into something that I like to call the creative rage. During which he goes out of his way to explain that taking the 3 greater gods and giving them to one of each side, humans, Bugnarok, and himself, would make them all equal. However, since he wasn't very clear with the Kingohger'S and Defnarok is still a fucking asshole, this requires JB to take matters into his own hands. By the way, during said speech, he was clapping the fuck out of Gira. And when Kumonos kicks it up a notch and gives us this shot, I knew JB was not only raw as fuck, but I'm convinced that Gira can't even beat my 2-year-old in a sword fight without getting help. Keeping this momentum, he whoops on Himino and Dabowski, then swings by to give Rita his version of street justice.
man thing, yeah? It's not looking good, Bev. It's not looking good.
After taking their swords, the last one to face is Yanma, aka Kingohger. And since he's the main offender, it's only right that he gets it worse than everybody else. Following this ass whooping, Jeremy would proceed to not only show off God Tarantula, but how its power is great enough to control the greater three spirits in said fight as well. Now for those who know me, this video might come off very confusing, and for those who don't know me, I should tell you this: I really don't like King-Ohger, but I would be lying to you if I said I didn't like Jeremy. In fact, some of my friends can tell you the exact moment when I went from hating this nigga to pulling a 180. JB, being a storyteller, speaks and behaves in a way that requires those around him and the audience to read in between the lines of his dialogue, rather than just saying what he means. So getting clear answers from him early on was seemingly impossible for the cast he's part of. As the king of the in-between, his biracial nature appears not only in his appearance, but also in his political opinions, starting off in a neutral position, working to bridge the gap between humans and Bugnarock. And to circle back to his appearance, the fact that he wears his father's coat of arms comfortably on his Bugnarock arm both visually and physically prove that Jeremy is proud of who he is and knows what is rightfully his. After all, if your dad's entire legacy was omitted from the history books because he wasn't a coward and he fucked a spider lady that ended up in your birth and subsequently oppression for 2 millennia, I would want my reparations too. As I said in my Gold Ranger video, I strongly believe that a good 6th Ranger helps to expand the story's lore and progress the plot forward, and Jeremy is the best example to use in this case. After all, him living for 2 millennia, aka 2,000 years, has given our boy time to not only write but revise and spread the King-Ohger legend, but it also strategically allows him to set up most of the events we see in the first 12 episodes. But let us never forget that before he was JB, to us at least, he was just the narrator. We would hear this man's voice recapping episodes, but it only hints different when the narrator just pops into the show as an actual character. He jumped into this mug and said, "Nah, it's my story, bitch." Though this is cool as fuck, it does not make him infallible. In fact, he was apparently chilling as an art exhibit during the entire Fury of the Gods event. This means that he missed all of that, and when he pops up with a shoe god from said event, it makes sense why Himino gets all in his ass about it. This just allows both the Royal Quintet and the audience to watch Jeremy make decisions and moves that earn both their trust and appreciation.
Much later.
Eventually, we're taken to Deathnarok v JB for the title of the Bugnarock King, and it's here where Jeremy's true proof as royalty is displayed. After learning that the Bugnaroks were effectively humans that ate Shugans to assimilate their powers and evolve, which caused the Shugans to link up with humanity, this sort of explains why the Bugnarok are the way they are now. Because of which, the strongest is always the king, and it's always been this way since they got packed up the first time in the plot. With the help of the others, Jeremy is able to read in between the lines of this and discover that Deathnarok is simply a product of his environment, and true change can only happen with the dismantling of the old ways. Their duel is raw, but serves more as a bridging moment. Rather than fighting to kill Deathnarok, JB only wants to best him in combat, sparing him as a citizen, all while trying to maintain D's dignity. Ultimately, it takes a Talk No Jutsu apology to get Deathnarok to chill out, but he gets clapped by Kamijin, who spills the beans that he's actually responsible for the hatred humans and Bugnaroks have for one another. With being packed up being imminent, Deathnarok swears fealty to Jeremy, giving him the crown of Bugnarock King and giving his life for him. Jeremy takes this sacrifice to properly extend the hand of peace towards humanity, and he becomes the king of the in-between. Also, God Tarantula is fucking cool as shit. So yeah, that's the video. Yeah, he's cool. Jeremy's cool. Despite me disliking King-Ohger as a whole, I can say Jeremy is my GOAT. Realistically, I could talk more about Jeremy and how dope he is, but I would also need to talk about King-Ohger. But why would I want to ruin my birthday? I have to get paid to talk about that show. Speaking of, ways to support the channel in a more personal way are in the description below. You can also buy toys on Hobby Links Japan, as when you use the link to buy toys on the website, your sales support me. Since I decided to get sick the week Goju Polar debuted and I started feeling better around the time my birthday was popping up, I figured I'd give you guys something. So I'm gonna go ahead and go get plastered. Love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Give me $5. I'm a middle-aged man. Give me $5.